Hello, viewers. My name is Anjali Gupta, and welcome to Fem Stories. So, today's Fem story is very exciting. I'm personally excited and very thrilled about it because you will know why the reason of it's because, but I would love to introduce her. Her name is Jaya Janardanan. And let me just have a quick introduction of hers. She is an independent board member for Swasti Microfinance. She is now kicking off her startup career in in finance, but overall in the past she has been a finance, technical and operation and services professional for 27 years, and that's the experience she brings into this startup called Krayontek Solutions. She's a founder and CEO of Krayontek Solutions. She's also an advisor for Aspire for Her, because which is a very, it's a huge program or initiative with a huge number of women involved in it, and it has a global footprint as well, and I'm personally following that on LinkedIn. So I'm really excited to welcome Jaya. She's been an awarded multiple awards, like Asian Banker Award, CIO Award, Trailblazer Award. So we have a trailblazer today on Fem Stories, and BFSI Game Changer Award, and the other Women Achievers Award in BFSI. So without further ado, let me just huge welcome to Jaya Janardanan. Hi, Jaya. Welcome to Fem Stories. I'm so thrilled to welcome you. I mean, what we are doing here in Fem Stories, I'm bringing CEOs, female leaders, women entrepreneurs who have a solid story to share with us, who have an inspiring story to share with us. And this is how, when I do the research, I think my 80% of work is the research on LinkedIn. After that, it is just pure logistics because I know I've done the homework to bring somebody on board. And then we can talk about that, all the meaty stuff. So I'm so thrilled to have you on board and share your fam story with our viewers. And so thank you so much.
Thank you, Anjali. I think some of these actually sharing all these stories, through these podcasts actually gives a lot of courage to the folks around because I'm also somebody who actually hears a lot of podcasts, and many of the stuff that I listen is what I put into practice. So when
Yeah.
I morning walk or run, I usually
Yeah.
my biggest hobby is to listen to the podcast.
Yeah, I think it's a very newer, not new that as newer anymore, but it is still a newer space which is growing rapidly, and it adds a huge value. It adds a huge value to each of us on everyday daily basis. So I am personally very excited. It's my passion project. It is not a monetization product for me. And I will tell a huge a small story, because when I moved to India from US and I started my own company, I also did research on startups, and I was flabbergasted. It was astounding for me to see how lesser the credits and the funds are given to women in general, and there is a statistic attached to it. It's just not me, my research. Almost less than 1%, as opposed to other people involved in it. So I think that is one of the reasons that sparked an interest in me to focus on women entrepreneurs, create that voice and share their stories in terms of impactful stories, and of course paving the way to the future women entrepreneurs. So that's the mission of Fem Stories, and that's how it originated as well.
Thank you. That's
Great.
nice.
So with that, let's just over to you. It'll be more of a candid conversation. I would love to understand. I mean, you have an amazing career of finance and technical and in operation and services, and pretty much what you've now started as a founder as a startup as well. So if you can just give me a quick rundown of what was your career like, and at what point you thought that you should start your own company, and tell me about Krayontek as well.
Sure. I think, every time I narrate my story, which I've done multiple times at multiple forums, it only reiterates that, yes, I've done something right. So that's
Yes.
what, and I think I've heard people come back and say, there is something to learn in the entire process.
Hmm.
So let me start when I finished my graduation. I come from a family which is very, very, uh, you know, is not very open about sending women to work. My dad was not very much in favor of me taking a career. But my mom had a very different, I mean, her thought process was very different. She said, as a woman, you should have a job,
Yeah.
you should be financially independent. And her only aim was that because we moved houses and we were staying on rent, she said, Jaya, you should have a house of your own. This
Hmm.
was her mandate to me. So I set out and as soon as I finished my graduation, I did my post graduation and I landed up at a job in ICICI Bank. Now, ICICI Bank those days was just the bank. It was not
Hmm.
the merged entity as you see it today. It was just a small bank. And my journey as someone who took risk in moving roles in ICICI Bank is the reason why I'm there today here.
Hmm.
I joined as a corporate banker, and that's the time when ICICI Bank was moving into retail.
Hmm.
And there was a ask, is there anybody interested in moving into retail? And I put up my hand, and everybody around told me, Jaya, I think you're risking your career because you're a corporate banker. What would you do in retail? I said, but that's a space to learn. Let me just try.
Hmm.
Moved into retail, and then I became part of every change that ICICI Bank did those days. And this was way back in 1997, 98 onwards. So till 2003, 2005, when I was in the bank, those 10
Hmm.
years in the bank, the period of the bank was the changing period of the bank. So I saw two mergers.
Wow.
Okay, industry did not know the concept of centralized operations.
Hmm.
We as ICICI Bank took up that and said the world is moving towards the banking industry will move towards centralized operations. And I became part of that project. Today, everybody talks about centralized operations. When
Hmm.
we were setting it up, we didn't even have a book to refer to, or we never had an example to refer to, right? Because we went by what the bosses told us at that point of time.
Yeah, it's very theoretical, right?
Very theoretical. You do this, you do this. We did those pluses and minuses, took the risk, did all
Wow.
these.
Yeah.
So the concept of centralized operations, leading a team came from there. And
Hmm.
that's when I started leading a team. Okay. Now there is a concept everybody believes in saying that, two women cannot be friends or two girls cannot be friends, right? But those days we were a team of entirely women in ICICI Bank
Very
and
good.
stood for each other. Okay. We stood because we were setting up something new, right?
Hmm.
Everybody's focus was to make it successful rather than pull each other.
Hmm.
That's where I started. We learned that working together brings collaboration, teamwork. Even today,
Hmm.
in touch with the people who were there with us years back. Why?
Hmm.
Because that's where they learned. That's where we learned. Okay, and that's what the growing up of the journey happened over there.
Sure.
And as we moved in ICICI Bank, I got opportunities to move into multiple projects, which was actually game changers in the project. Okay.
Hmm.
And I actually took a lot of risk in my roles. Okay.
Hmm.
Every time I took a risk of change of role, I was told, Jay, you're risking your career, right? But every time I took that risk, I realized that I was actually, I was treading into a space where nobody had treaded before. So I
Hmm.
get the best of it, right? I get to learn a lot of it. My
Yeah.
first mobile came to me when I was leading the project of Six Sigma
Hmm.
laptop. See, the point is, it's all new for us at that point of time, new
Yeah.
for us as an industry, new for us as a person. Everything
So
else is
how did you deal with the change? I mean, if given it's a new, second, there is no predecessor, there is nobody has done it. So how did you deal with that change or the new thing?
see. Actually, let me tell you, ICICI Bank those days was a place where you had really good bosses.
Hmm.
And I have been fortunate enough to have good bosses who.
That's actually very good fortunate fortune.
Yes, it is a fortune. Actually, it's a fortune. You learn.
Hmm.
They held hands. They kind of hand did the entire hand holding for you for the entire process. They gave you opportunities. And those days, if the current SEBI chairman Madhvi Puri Butch, she there was one of the projects that I want to share on this podcast with you is we were sitting in a room. She called us all of us into a room and she said that she showed us a picture. She said, please guess this place. And we all were like, it's a wedding hall, it's some large gathering, etc., etc. So she shows us the next slide, and the next
Hmm.
slide happens to be the Erode branch of Tamil Nadu. It's
Hmm.
so crowded with people. It is so crowded that the BM cannot step out of his cabin once he enters a cabin. It is so
Hmm.
bad.
Okay.
Why? Because people come there to deposit cash.
Hmm.
Okay, and therefore, till 1 o'clock, you can't either open the door of the bank branch or you can't close it. It's so bad. It's so packed with customers who come to deposit cash. She
Hmm.
said, I cannot keep expanding branch space every year. You will need to find a solution. So it was a
Hmm.
problem statement, right?
Hmm.
So when we come down, my boss says that, okay, we have to work on this. So he says, I can only think of one solution. You should make a facility for people to deposit cash and walk out, and we credit the customers in a half an hour's time. See, that's a line that is given to us.
Nuance of it. Yeah.
The whole story has to be carved on that.
Yeah.
The whole story has to be carved out. How will you create a process where people can deposit cash?
Yeah.
How will you count cash? How will you convince customer to that he'll get the credit after half an hour?
Yeah.
What happened was after we went to, I mean, I went to E Road and I sat for about a few days there, worked with those people, came back here, spoke to the admin, all that put together.
Hmm.
Ultimately, we created a box with a slit, with an envelope, with a paying in slip on top of it, and we spoke to customers, and customers said, "Wow, please help us. We don't want to stand the queue." What we thought and what customers thought was different. We thought customers will not accept it. Customers said, wow, please do it. So 26th, I mean, in Jan, on I think Jan 22nd or 23rd, we actually implemented this live in Erode.
Hmm.
Customers welcomed it. Okay. In 2, 3 days, we could see no customers in the branch because customers came, picked up the cash, put it in the envelope, put it in the box, and went off. They got the credit within 30 minutes. I had to do
Hmm.
the back end work. We set up the entire thing, all that we did.
Hmm.
I left T Road branch and I was walking my way towards, I mean, I was traveling towards Coimbatore. I
Hmm.
was getting continuous calls from all the branches, come and do this project in our branch.
Hmm.
Okay, so because it's a problem solving, it solved the problem, right? It
Yeah.
solved the problem, and everybody was very happy. So we had to create those days. If you remember, we had those CDs which was used in the desktops, right? So I had to call a photographer, get the entire thing recorded,
Hmm.
send it across to all the branches, saying that this is a video, this is a CD, entire process is there. Please go ahead and implement it.
Okay.
Come from is one is of course risk taking ability, putting up the hand for a new some to do something differently, and the opportunities that came in my way, I grabbed it. So that's how my journey of all these happened all these years, right? So
Nice.
therefore, I was always looking at doing things differently.
That's amazing. I mean, that's a great story in terms of how you took the risk, did something new, but you were fortunate to get some good bosses to help to handhold you, to be able to allow you to learn something new, take risk, because not everybody can do that or can, embark on the new journey, take new risk and be successful on it and eventually deliver something valuable and then getting calls from all other offices to do a similar thing. So it's a great story. Since you have 20 more than 2 decades of experience in finance, in operation and the customer service, which is a huge muscle and skill set built in, on the top banks, and you have won so many awards. What are the two things? I think I'll just be very succinct and very simple. Like, what are the two things that you think should be, or as per your learning, should be the things that the entrepreneurs, not just the women, but any entrepreneur in the finance and the tech and operations sector should learn or should know?
See, one is tread in, you have to address a pain area. That's very important.
Nice.
Okay, you have to address because there has to be, you have to actually know your customers. You need to know what are you going to offer a customer. You can't prepare something which you like. It doesn't work.
Yes.
You have to take what the customer wants. So that's
Yes.
important, right?
Okay.
Number one.
So know your customer.
Know your customer is very important. Unless the customer is there for you to buy your
Mm.
product is a waste, right? Number one. Number two is you need to know the threads of everything as a startup.
Yeah.
Okay. You cannot say that you are not a business person, so you can't sell. You
Mm.
don't know laws. You are not a legal person, so you don't understand legal. You cannot because you're a
You cannot.
startup, right? You need to know the threads of the law, right? You cannot say that, I have done in my corporate life only so much, so this is not my area. No, you have to know all your boxes quite well. If you
Awesome.
do not know, then you are, or you have to be ready to learn. Okay,
No,
that's
no.
because I have
Willing to
learned.
learn if you don't know anything doesn't matter.
Yeah, I
So
have
those are
learned
the
many
two
of the
main
things.
lessons. Yeah, absolutely. So one is know your customer, two is willing to learn new skill sets and willing to, just get your heads down as a startup founder and learn every single skill set, be it marketing, be it selling, be it biz dev, be it legal or anything, even if your core expertise in just finance. So those are the two things that all you women entrepreneurs or anybody who's willing to start a business need to know. So that's a great
And third,
point.
very critical piece, I think I have learned it over a period of time, is you need to network and tell your story.
Yeah, which is what we're doing right now.
You should tell your story. You should tell, when I'm saying tell your story, you should create a story for your product.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So when somebody says, what are you doing? You cannot say, I was so and so, so and so, so and so. Your
yes.
start, you should say your stories. That's it. So person in that 5 minutes should know what your startup is all about.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it definitely comes under selling, it comes under marketing, it comes under you should be willing to learn that muscle in a crisp way. You should be able to tell your story, your elevator pitch in within a few seconds or minutes, without beating around the bush because it tells the audience about you and about how clear you are in term about your business, about your product. So
Absolutely.
amazing. Those are the great learnings. So let's just switch gears. I mean, this is what we learned from you in terms of the very rich and deep financial background working in the banks of India. I would love to understand what triggered you start your company or startup now, called Krayontek Solutions. Talk about Krayontek. When did you start with it? What triggered you start it? And maybe I'll get down to the deeper questions later, but let's just start there.
So, see, after 27 years, and of course, I had some primary reasons why I had to come back to Bombay because I was, Jeevan small finance bank at that point of time. Mom was unwell. I came back, and I somewhere at some point of time, I was very clear that I did not want to continue working. Okay,
Yeah.
because I wasn't enjoying uh, every time whatever I was doing. You had all your challenges and all that. So I actually, as a woman leader, I had my own challenges with the men in the room, and I somewhere along I had given up this concept of working. Okay, so that's when I said, okay, now let me get to doing something on my own, which I'll enjoy doing. And then I was talking to a few of my old colleagues and all that, and I said, "What? Why would you think, helping you execute something will work?
Hmm.
Why not? I mean, it's something that we all require." So I said, "Let me try it out." So actually, I did not do the startup and then start business, right? So I
Mhm.
actually went ahead and I spoke to a few of them, and they said, "Why don't you try this out?" And I tried it out. And then I realized that they were actually valuing it because they knew that I did not need to be, I have no offenses against any of the big fours, but let
Yeah.
me tell you my own personal experiences with the big four. The big four comes with, of course, the IIMs and the IITs and all those people. You have to
Hmm.
first teach them. You have to first tell them what you're doing, okay? And then they learn from you and then they help you.
Got it.
They felt, people with whom I spoke felt that I come with that hands-on experience. So they just have to tell me, this is the problem, Jaya. I need to help. I need to get this executed. And I
Hmm.
get to it immediately. And that's when I said, okay, this works. Why don't then we kind of formalize it? And that's how Krayontek was born. So if you look at my tagline,
Hmm.
it says that you strategize, we execute. I'm very
Hmm.
clear on that. So when somebody says or introduces me as a consulting, I says, no, I'm not consulting. I do not consult at all. I only execute the
Hmm.
strategy that you
Got
have,
it.
right?
Okay.
So that's where Crayon Tech came into force. And that's how the last 1.5 years has been. And fortunately, we have been having good clients right from the day one. So we've had the Aditya Birla Capital digital payments folks on board. Then
Nice.
we had the South Indian Bank. We had I have done projects for NPCI. We have done work with Hiranani Financial Services, and we have with DBS, DSP. Then we have with Kotak Mahindra Bank. So we've done projects. I mean, fortunately, had all the big names on my books till date. So I don't have any client which are small, but all large clients. Only because they know that, of course, I come with an industry experience. When I
Yeah.
go and pitch, they know that it's Jaya who's pitching. So
Yes,
today,
they know you.
yeah, today they don't know Krayontek because yeah, now people have started knowing Krayontek because I go and talk to a lot of people. I talk
Yeah.
about it in sessions. People know about it, but it will take still a year down the line to actually Krayontek to come over Jaya. So maybe
Yeah.
that's 1 year period is where I'm looking at it. But of course, fortunately, done well for the last 1.5 year with all the big names on board.
Awesome. So you don't need any marketing to do for your Crayon Tech. You already
Right
do.
now,
You're a
I'm
good brand ambassador for yourself.
yeah, because see, the point is that if if a DBS is talking to you, they're talking to you because they know Jaya. They don't talk to you because they know Crayon Tech today, right? So therefore, it's your brand.
Yeah.
That tomorrow is actually tomorrow, if they feel happy with the project, they will say that, oh, you should speak to Jaya because her organization Crayon Tech does this work. Then slowly the name comes in the front, and then slowly, I mean, it doesn't say a year down the line, maybe Crayon Tech will come in the forefront. Today,
Yeah.
also, for example, when we're part of the Stanford Seed program, when
Yeah.
I talk in the session, when we are asked to talk in the sessions, I talk about Crayon Talk. So now people in the group knows it is Crayon Tech. Okay, so they heard four people around talk about it. So then that's how people actually start understanding the name
Yeah.
because I don't go for pitch sessions because right now I don't need money, so therefore I don't go for pitch sessions. But I have a story to talk about Crayon Tech. Okay, so
Mm.
as I told you, you should have that few minutes of story when you see someone, right? So
Yeah.
I begin my I talk to someone and I immediately talk about the story. And
Yeah.
then, oh, okay, fine. Wow. How did you manage to get this niche area? That's how it starts. So
Nice. Awesome. Well, I think it's a very good transition of what your deep and rich career in finance over to a company where you're working with such big brands and helping them execute the overall strategy, which is again related to the tech operations and finance and services, which is amazing. Um, I know you're an Oxford alumni, which is very brighter option, in terms of education. And then you're also working with Stanford. There's a seed program in Stanford that you're getting the grant from in 2024. There's another founder I met who's also just selected in the Stanford seed program. I would love to understand, and anybody who is trying to get funding or trying to get more eyeballs and attract traction for their business, how did working with Stanford seed program, how did that start, and what exactly is the program about?
So Stanford, the seed program that right now we are selected is it's a 6 month program.
Mm.
Actually, they usually put up an application. The form they put up a requirement a few months before, and they invite applications from the startup. Uh,
Mhm.
I think they have criteria that you have to have your income at a particular level and below. You have to have X number of employees. So there are some three, four criteria that you should fit into it. And then largely they look at the background of the founders and
Mm.
criteria that you meet up, and then you get selected. And I think they largely route it through some of the partners. Okay, they have
Mm.
partners of this. So if you can link with any of the partners. AFH is one of the partners with Stanford. So if anybody wants to, kind of get into this program, next cohort, they should look for it. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Second is, what does Stanford offer? So actually, it's been a revelation right now because they make you, there are a lot of sessions that they take you through, right? From the go-to market, product specifications, value chain, understand your business model canvas, everything. There are multiple sessions that are done.
Yeah.
And then also have to prepare yourself on those sessions, right? So you
Yeah.
have to do a submission for that session. So when you do that, what happens is you're doing it for your own startup. So if you have not created a business model canvas for your a business, or if
It's
you
an organic help.
product fit specifications, if you've not checked your value chain, if you've not been ready for your go to market, this particular program and these sessions help you to think through the entire thing.
Yeah.
And actually, that is the other part is they also offer you a mentoring program. So the
Got it.
It's actually supposed
So
to
does
be.
it happen online or you have to go to California?
So this is right now online. At
Okay.
this point of every Friday, we have a session, and then there is a pitch session that they make you do so that you get thorough with the process of pitching. And then you have a mentor who actually evaluates your program and then
Business
takes it
programs.
forward for
Awesome.
further evaluation. So, and there is a score. So every time there's a leaderboard which tells you the score. You have to learn the sessions. You have to submit it. You have to all those scorings are there. Now, I'm told the top 10 the top 10 entrepreneurs actually get featured on the Stanford website.
Yeah.
So somebody is looking for investments and stuff like that, they look at the Stanford on startup list
Yeah.
for doing their investments, and
Yeah.
therefore one area that you get designated.
Showcase your brand and business idea.
Yeah.
Amazing. So you're already selected into the seed program, right? I mean,
Yes.
Stanford is very close to me because I've lived in Bay Area for so long. Stanford is like 3-4 miles from my house, and it's usually people who are staying in a Bay Area. It's like a weekend stroll. It's a beautiful campus.
So I'll
So,
tell you about my Stanford. So I believe a lot in manifestation, right? So
oh wow, yes,
I strongly believe that something it'll happen. So when I was of course when I was doing my graduation, and I was see Stanford, Oxford has been those things those days we used to always look for, right?
yeah.
What the reason it did not happen? So this year in Jan, we were selected, Krayontek was selected as part of FICCI's program for 12 startups to go to the US. So I
Mm.
went to the US, right? So with FICCI. So Stanford was one university they took us to.
Mm.
Okay, so they took us to there, and as we clicked the picture there, I just mentioned saying that, and I have put up a post in LinkedIn on that saying that something that you manifested at some point of time. But see, today I've come and standing here and taking a picture. Not that I'm doing a course, but it's a dream come true, right? Go to
Right,
Stanford,
absolutely.
see the university, and as you rightly said, stroll in that whole place and all that.
Yeah,
When this program happened, I said, see, this how the whole transition happened
yeah.
from thinking to going there to doing a course and becoming a Stanford alumni is a dream come true. So
Exactly. No, that's amazing. That's an amazing journey and the story. And I believe in manifestation too. I feel if you connect really well in terms of what you want, and if you are positive enough, if you put in the hard work, I think universe helps you. They have, universe has amazing ways to get you to that point. And if
absolutely,
you really put your mind to it, you can actually make it work. So, which is
absolutely.
your story is one of the direct proof of such manifestation rituals. So great. I mean, I'm really enjoying this podcast, and I'm really loving the fem story that we're building right here. So another interesting part is, I mean, you just started Krayontek at 55, right? After 50. I mean, I believe age is just a number. I believe you can start a company or a startup or even an idea or a program even when you're 85. People are in US or everywhere around, even in India. People are very fit these days. They really want build, they work on their brains, their body, they are fit to think enough. Uh, Maybe not as much as in US, in India right now, but people are just by and large getting to that mindset. So people can create something as long as it adds the value, as long as there is a value proposition to it. But then I still feel that you must be asked this question by the larger, or by a casual start of society, to ask you that, hey Jaya, you're starting a company after 55. What are the challenges, or what do how do you manage? I'm sure you have been asked. So what is your take on it?
See, as I told, I mentioned earlier also, right? Because you're a corporate person, you come with so much of things that you take for granted in a corporate life, right?
Yes, you do.
Example, you want to travel somewhere, you tell the travel desk to book a ticket, right? When you need to put up a presentation, you will tell your colleague to do, or your team member to do it for you, right?
You just review it.
Yeah, you just review it, and some of those things that you take for granted
Mm, yeah.
is no more there,
Yeah.
right? So while you are actually moving from a corporate rigor or the so-called corporate life into a
Mm,
startup,
Yeah.
A lot of stuff that actually you have to understand that it is going to be your responsibilities, right?
Hmm.
You that if you see when you are handling an ops and a tech or a service, finance is not your responsibility, right? That's the CFO's responsibility. Whether you make profit or loss, it is his body, his headache. Here it is not his headache,
It's your.
it is your headache, right? You have to understand how much how much is your expense, the other pieces.
Yes.
Yesterday in the corporate, if you don't pay your PF, right, it is the CFO, it is the HR, it is their responsibilities. Here, if you don't pay PF, if you don't pay tax, it is your responsibilities. You
True.
will be liable to the to the law for that. So
True.
therefore it is, see, so therefore while you get some benefit out of the corporate getting out of it, these are your responsibilities. So you have
Yeah.
to assume that you have to take ownership of everything that is there.
Yeah.
You cannot assume that somebody else will do it for you.
Do it for you. Yes.
That is something that every entrepreneur, and this is not something that I learned when I started Krayontek. Okay, it came over a period of time
It
because
came upon you, so you learned over
yeah,
the
so
way.
we have an advisor in Krayontek, and he asked me questions, and I'm like, okay, am I supposed to do that? He said, then who will do it? Then he said, "What's your ratio? What's your gross profit margin?" I'm like, okay. He says, "No, but you should. That's all on a tip of your finger. It should be." But that's when I picked it up. I said,
Mm.
"Oh yes, every month I need to have the numbers with me. I need to know how much is today's the margin, the profit margin that I have every year, every month." So that's how. So
Yeah.
typically, what is supposedly to be taken for granted no more gets taken for
Yeah.
granted as a startup. So that's a
It is,
biggest lesson you need to know in
it
your
is
life.
basically your second point, right? You need to be a financial accountant, you need to be a marketer, you need to be a seller
Everything.
for your business. You
Yes,
need to wear multiple hats, not just your expertise area.
absolutely. I have never sold, let me tell you, 27 years in banking, Anjali, I have not sold even one SB account. One SB account I have not sold. I have never done selling in my
Because
life.
you'd have to, yeah. You were a COO, right, for one of the
Even if
banks.
I was a junior when I was in ICICI Bank, when I started as a junior also, my profile was completely ops, tech and service. So I never sold. I was never into business development. I was never into selling. But the day I put my hat as an entrepreneur, I had to sell. I had to start telling my story. I had to sell. So whenever I go for any of those conferences, when somebody says, I start with my story of Krayontek, and that's when I realize. And many of the leads comes after that. They come back and they say, "Hey, but did you not tell that you will do the standard operating process documentation?" Yes. Oh, we have a project for you. So that's how it changes, right? So therefore, somebody who has done zero selling comes to doing a full has to sell because you're a startup, you're an
Yeah.
entrepreneur. You have to sell
Yeah.
your story.
Absolutely. I mean, that is the first and foremost skill set and the muscle you need to build in because otherwise, I mean, like we say in Hindi, right? Whatever जो नहीं दिखता वो नहीं बिकता जो दिखता है वही बिकता है. So you need to show up. You need to tell your story. You need to be there out there. Getting
My
your
name, my organization also creates a little bit of a curiosity because when you say crayon tech, they think it's a tech solution. So when you
yeah.
it increases the curiosity. So
Yes.
the solution you have, and then I say, okay, fine, this is how. Then there's an interest, right? Because strategy execution is a challenge everybody faces. So they say,
Sure.
"Oh,
Sure.
okay,
So to summarize, even after 55, you feel there is a lot to learn. I mean,
yeah,
even if you have given 27 years of your life in one sector, there's a lot to learn in creating a new company. There is no age barrier. You don't feel like after 50 you can do that or anything that you did not feel that there's a hurdle at coming at that age. So I think that's the summary. I understand. Awesome. I think I would love to switch gears a little bit and talk about a little bit of societal norm that's going on at this point in time. Why do you think women, people who are, I mean, I would call them entrepreneurs, but women founders who are working so hard, they have a great idea, they're adding a value to the system, and there's a huge startup ecosystem now built in India. There's a huge, I mean, there's a whole muscle being created in the last couple of years, and now it's contributing a huge significant amount, towards the GDP of the country as well. I mean, I always say the running joke that my day can start in Gurugram from Country Delights Milk, And throughout the day, you can work with Swiggy, you can work with delivery, you can work with a Blinkit, you can work with Zepto, ending the day with Zomato's dinner. So you're actually, the entire ecosystem is with very effective, efficient startup ecosystems. People are thriving, they are becoming unicorns, decadons, as they say, and multi-billionaires and millionaires. So the startup ecosystem is here to stay in India at this point in time. With all that said, I mean, I always feel that why is women not getting as much as funding or traction as their counterparts in other genders? I don't know how to put it that, but then why do you think is that the case?
See, there are a lot of reasons for it. Okay, so
Hmm.
number one is, of course, the way our society is structured, right? So it's always about, and we have heard a lot of stories where, uh, you know, uh, when so for example, you know the story of the sugar entrepreneur, right? Her husband had come in to support her for the funding. So it's a largely related to the societal structure that we still live with. Okay, so
So
that's
you mean the patriarchal
yeah, so
mindset?
because the fact that women can lead, women can do business, and women can be successful is yet not getting into people's head. So the fact is that if we put in money, will we get the returns for it? Will it be successful? Or is something which has not been really driven into people's head? So that's the biggest challenge we all run with, and that's where you still see the numbers not coming up the level as much as your as it has to be. While we have a lot of women entrepreneurs that are doing extremely well. So I think there's a lot of mind shift that is still required to be done for this to take off in its own way as required.
Wow. That's amazing to know and hear. I mean, I've lived away from this country for a very long time, almost 17 years. Coming back and settling in Gurugram in one of the expat societies doesn't let me think that way. But now talking to you, and we have talked to other founders, maybe that is still the case.
Yes, it is
It
because
is. Women still are being looked down upon that they cannot run the business, they cannot run, or not enough creditable enough to run the successful business on their own. That's the thinking.
along that whole thing has not shifted as yet is what has led to a lot of these the numbers not showing the numbers not showing up. That's what that's and the more and more you hear from the women entrepreneurs is that why funding is not happening, why it's still not getting into a space where they believe that the woman can do well, right? Or if they get funding also, it's not that much as your other counterparts are getting. So I think that is something which all the programs, the Google programs, the Stanford program, many of the programs are leading to making that mind shift change, which will happen, but it's taking time. And I think this year and the last year, you saw a lot of rise in startups,
Hmm.
lot of rise. And of course, there are a lot of women people like the organizations like AFH, which supports a lot of entrepreneurs and giving a lot of resources. But that the platform to get funding, right? To come
Hmm.
and the investors to come and say, okay, here is where we will, that is still not opened up, is what I will say from my experience. In the last, I think there was a program that we worked on, which was called the Samrit program from the Zone Startup and all that. But still, the point is that the money coming into there is money which is there as part of the government thing, but money coming in, I don't know why it's not coming in. I mean, it's so much of a struggle for them to actually believe in that startup and then invest, right? So it's a matter of how you that mind shift is still in progress, I would say. Maybe
Hmm.
another 3 to 4 years, we can see the shift because you'll see successful startups start building up, and then
Hmm.
you can see people investing money. And this is more so when the founders are alone. If you have a group start, so when you have a partner,
Oh,
it's
really?
it's still not a problem. But when you are alone or it's a woman founder, there is a little bit of a struggle on that whole
Oh,
thing.
I did not know that. So if you're alone, a single lone founder, you are being looked on a higher status,
No, you
or the opposite.
there is a little struggle in investment, but if it's a partnered, if there's a partner with it, then it's
Oh,
a little, yeah, it's a because
easier to get funding. Okay.
yeah,
Because
that's
there is more credibility, there is more muscle power, more
muscle
strategic brain
power.
power to work on the idea.
I'll tell you something, Anjali. This is not just about startup, okay? I mean, you will find a lot of these. stories. I don't know how many of them come out and tell all these stories. But even in a normal corporate life, right? I have witnessed this multiple times. If you are in a room that is full of men and you're the sole woman, there are multiple times that you struggle a lot to make your voice be heard. Because
Wow.
and people like me who is very vocal, very assertive, very people call me strong headed, but it's still there is a struggle. It's not that easy as it is said. Okay, especially when you're the sole woman in the entire room full of men, it's not very easy. See, a lot of voices are coming up now. There is a lot of visibility. There is a lot of social awareness that is coming up. So things are changing, right? But we have been
But
from a
the space is not that much.
yeah, so but
Things
see,
are
we've all
still,
grown up as looking at women in the in ICICI Bank. We're all women leaders, right? So many women leaders were there, coming from Madhabi to Vishakamule to Chanda. Everybody was there as leaders, and we have seen them, and we have learned, and we've grown up, right?
yeah, yeah.
So we, as such, we are not very timid. We are very vocal. We are very
You're very vocal about the
still
everything.
have struggle in making a voice heard, and it's more to do with that we're talking about it now. Social awareness is coming. So people are saying, take the chair in the room, sit right in the front of the table and talk. See, these are things which was not known earlier. Even without that, we were vocal and strong enough, but today there is an
Yeah,
awareness. Today the woman who's at the mid management level is given so many mentoring programs that they are gearing up to come to that level very easily. We have worked our way up, right? We have
yeah,
all,
yeah,
while I have had a mentor lifelong, but the structured programs of mentoring has helped women to move up. So I think all these are now like, parallelly, as you say, parallelly taking its own step.
yeah,
So coming to the top level, leading positions in the board, entrepreneurs getting funded, it's all working. Maybe it will
yeah.
take 2 to 3 years or 5 years, and you may see things changed completely different at that point of
Yeah.
time.
I mean, it's amazing to know that even in the corporate right now, or even lately, that having a voice of a woman is not easy. In if a full room of men, like you mentioned in the beginning, also that there were men in the business that you were having issues and getting your voice out, and it is so frustrating. It is really frustrating, especially on the three grounds. I mean, if you have a point and if you have a voice, what is wrong with it?
Yeah.
Just because of your gender. I mean, that's something which is not acceptable. And number two is if there are men around it, and if you're just one of the women or just one single woman, then it should work the other way around. You should have even larger say because you might have a different background and a perspective and might bring up different point that the other five or others 10 men cannot think from. So there has to be more diversity from the cultural, sex, greed, and every way. So I think it brings more legitimacy or more legitimacy to bring that point forward. So I fail to understand why is that disparity between the two genders even now and even in the corporate. I mean, like Sheryl Sandberg says, right, from Facebook, the CEO of Facebook, lean in, and she's a
Mhm.
very strong baton. She holds a very strong baton in terms of just push yourself out there. She's a great leader. I mean, I'm a big fan of Cheryl and Michelle Obama in terms of creating your voice, sharing your voice, and even there in the West. I mean, I'm talking sitting in India right now, but even in the West, I mean, there is a program. There are so many stronger programs being dealt on, being worked on. Why? Because of somewhere they're also experiencing there, in a full room of
It's a
boardrooms
global phenomena,
and
Anjali.
decision
Global.
making capacity, financial, whenever it comes to, maybe the voice might be heard better in West in the meeting room because I've been there. They will not suppress your voice, but maybe it gets to another level when it comes to a decision making,
Yeah,
when it
that's
comes to $1 million budget decision making, when it comes to the stages might be different, but then the situation might be still same. It might be like 50
I had
years
a I had a situation where I had a business head talking to me very rudely one day, and I had raised it up to the CEO, saying that the business head has been very rude, and I remember he told the HR head saying that ask Jaya not to not to raise this issue up because we're just launching a new business, and I'm like, what? He says, Jaya, just kind of don't make a hue and cry of it because we're just launching a new business and the CEO needs a business head. I said, are you telling me that because he needs a business head, he will not take an action against an inappropriate
Behavior.
conversation he's had with me? So he said, that looks like it. Okay, so I said, okay.
So funny. It's so
So
funny to
I
me.
actually, yeah, so that's when I realized that this is not the man I need to work for. The CEO is not the man I need to work for. And that's when I decided to move out. And
Yeah.
as I said, with this man, I don't think any woman in the organization will get respect. And when I moved out, we had an exit interview. Okay, so it's a large industrial house, and we had to, there were the global CHRO called me, and I said, this is the reason why I am leaving this organization because if the organization CEO does not know how to respect a woman, I don't
Very
think
good.
it's a safe place. So he said, it's a very strong point, Jaya. I said, yes. I mean, it's up to you now whether you want to remove him out or whether you want to continue him with business. I'm not going to be here anymore. And that's when I left.
That's an
Unfortunately,
amazing. I mean, you took a stand on it. Not many
I took a
people would do
stand
that.
on it.
Yeah.
And there have been times when I've taken stand, Anjali, but
Good.
sometimes, see, so when I find something going wrong, I take a stand. Okay.
Yeah.
And
You
I,
must.
but sometimes I realize that I've treaded the path wrongly with people because of that. I've stepped on their toes because of these
Very sensitive,
very
very
sensitive.
sensitive line, thin
I'm
line.
being told by people saying that, Jaya, choose your battles
Yeah.
carefully. Why do you want to get into this? And my point is that if somebody is not treating someone well and I'm taking a stand, how
Hmm.
tell me that choose your battles carefully, right?
So
Because
true.
the person who's trying to tell me saying, but boss, let that not matter to you. Don't worry about it. But for me, it is important because you have you have not behaved well with a colleague
Yeah.
or employee.
Yeah.
And how can you say that you would just choose your battles wisely? I mean, I've never been able to marry this word at all in my head in terms of choosing the battles wisely when it comes to things which are being incorrectly done to employees,
Yeah, I
right?
think that speaks volumes of what the topic we're talking about in terms of, why the women are being funded so less. So
Yes.
the mindset, the stereotypes, the current societal structure in India more so, but even in the West, I mean, not as bad as I've worked for women CMO, and I've worked for women mostly, and even when I was at Google and even in other companies, there were women leaders, and they were amazing, but I'm pretty sure they were also dealing with certain things, if not as the same, but in a similar or similar structure with the men in the room. I'm pretty sure it's not about their voice because it's a US. It's a 50 years or 25 years ahead of what we are experiencing and talking here, but it has its own way. Think about Cheryl and Michelle talking about it even now. So I mean, think about it, it's still happening in some or the other form. So that's why I wanted to bring this topic of conversation as well. And also the fem stories is linchpin of this topic, why the fem stories existed, because I really want to create this voice. The more we talk about it, the more we create reels and videos and shorts about it, people watch it, the mindset shift that is needed. Even this creates a 1%, my job is done. This is my way to give back to the society, or it's my passion project to create that voice and create the things together. So, and I'm really appalled to hear what you just
Important.
said.
It's very important, Anjali, because I
Very
think, see, for example, I tell you, one of the things that women do not go openly and seek is, and which I think is very important. Okay. And I think I have benefited immensely. And I thought I should bring this point out here is mentoring
hmm,
should get mentored.
mentor.
It's not about mentoring about it's not about telling you what to do, how to do. It's clearing the muddle in the head, right? In a situation, how to handle, what to handle, right? How
Enabler, basically, enable you to
it brings
navigate
in
the
a lot.
particular situation. Yeah,
Yes, it brings in a lot of that confidence to tread the path.
true.
Everybody will not be vocal or strong,
Articulative.
articulative, and I won't be able to come out as clearly. Whereas they may be really good folks, but
Yeah.
the need for them to be mentored, handheld, and taken forward is very important, which I think is very important. I think many of the organizations are coming out with this, but
Yeah.
there's so much of a push for women to take it up. That's where I think
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
where the change has to come
And
across.
maybe we can digress, or we can, it's a good segue to talk about my last two topics, which I always ask from my guests that what is your advice or a suggestion for the women entrepreneurs that are aspiring one? They are still creating their thoughts in their mind. They are still working on their pitch decks. They are still working on their ideas and future dreams. But there are still such videos. I'm sure there are plethora of them on the internet. What is your advice for such people, given that we just talked about the topic as well?
See, first and foremost is actually, as I mentioned earlier, make a product that the customer wants.
Yeah.
Don't make your product and try to sell it. That's number one. Okay.
Mm.
Number two is, uh, if you actually have a always seek help,
Hmm.
ask,
Hmm.
go for help, because
Hmm.
seeking help is not wrong. Seek
Hmm.
help, right?
Hmm.
If even men require help, women require help. Seek help, right?
Hmm.
If you do not know something, ask about it, right?
Hmm.
Call it out. There are organizations that work specifically for entrepreneurs. Just call it out.
Yeah.
Take Go and say, I don't know, please help me how to do it. Learn the tricks of the trade. As I told you, learn every pieces of the organization that you need to have a full hands on in, in control of it. So learn that out.
Sure.
Third is, it's not a time pass. It's not something to do now and get away with it. Or don't think that if it has not happened this year, it will not happen next year. Okay. You
Mm.
need to have that patience capsule into your head, which says that yes, it will work. If it's a customer need, it will work, right? Therefore, it is okay. It is sometimes you may want to just kind of lie low, go out, seek information, talk to people. And I'm telling you, people think that people don't help. I tell you that people help. If you go and ask help,
Reach
people
out.
reach out, people do help. People have reached out to me. I have spent so much of time and efforts in,
I agree with that. Yeah.
so if
You
you
reach
ask,
out, you be crisp about your help. What you
yes,
exactly you need, what exactly you're
yes,
reaching out for. Don't waste other person's time. You really need to be very clear about what you're asking.
right.
Do help.
Ask for help because you will need help. So ask for help. That's important. Because if you don't ask for help, you will be treading on an incorrect path. And ultimately, you'll reach a stage of startup will not go forward, right? So please
Yes.
ask help.
True.
Please connect with people, network, and network and network. That's very important. If you think that you can make a product in the closed room of your house and then everything will happen, it doesn't happen.
It
It's a
doesn't happen like that.
have to
That's an
network.
amazing advice. Absolutely. So basically, you network, you go out there, show up, request for your help, ask for help, and networking is the absolute must to create the product and create your business. That's amazing, amazing advice. I would love to ask you, what kind of resources did you use? What kind of programs did you work? I mean, of course, Stanford Seed Program is another program that we just talked about. But what other tools since 2021, when you started Krayontek, actually helped you shape the overall understanding about the business.
See, I have see my product is actually so first and foremost, my product was actually execution, right? So I realized that when you sell a story, right, you can't say that I'll execute it for you.
Hmm.
You need to have products, right? Whether you are a tech company or a non-tech company, you need to have products, right? So you need to create those classifications saying that what will you offer? What do you have? Somebody says, okay, fine, come and present it. I need to have some products. So I have to think through all those products. So I have
Hmm.
sat and thought through the products and I've created the product differentiation
Hmm.
so the question is, how are you different from a KPMG or a Deloitte or a PwC, right? So you
Yeah.
have to create your differentiation against your, they definitely may not be my competitors because they're too big and they're too big and they're too large and they're consulting
True.
organizations.
Yeah.
So, when you talk about resourcing, when you talk about what do you need, the first thing is to say that, okay, first create your product differentiation. How different are you in the products offered by your competitors, or is there a competitor? How do you do that?
Hmm.
Next is, does the market, and I keep repeating this multiple times in our podcast also, Anjali, is how are you different from what is your product? Does the customer need you? That is
Yes.
very important because if the
Differentiation.
customer doesn't need you, your product will not sell, right? So you need to make sure that you have a market for your product. So understanding the market, understanding your customers are very important. That
Sure.
is the other part of it.
True.
Third part of it is read, and I keep telling this also, listen to podcasts, listen to how good, and I listen to all these podcasts because it gives me a lot of perspective about how
Yeah.
did the entrepreneurs go through, what is that stuff that, so for example, today I was listening to a podcast of how you should be an able communicator.
Hmm.
Somebody will tell me, why, Jay, do you have to be an able communicator? See, the point is that it's not about me communicating. It's about how do you make sure that somebody who communicates to you, okay, are you able to understand what they want? Okay, are you able to filter out and take what they want to tell you? Okay, and what is the right questions to ask? So you need to kind of, this is all resources available everywhere, right? Be and see, for example, if you in an AFH, there is an entrepreneurial website, right? You
Yeah.
can be part. There are so many organizations that support. Be part of it. So these are, see, while I, for me, the space was very different, right? Because I looked at an issue and I started working on that space. But
Hmm.
today, when I'm actually talking to you, or when I talk to anybody, or when I go to conferences, make use of those situations and resources, and I make sure that, is somebody hearing me? Okay, is when I talk about my own story, is somebody who's relatively, who are in the space, are they listening to you, and
Yeah.
are they really seeing some value in what you're doing, right? So,
Yeah.
for example, the Stanford program, when we were doing, in one of those sessions, one of the mentors, one of the faculty had asked us to chosen some few people who had raised up their hands for something, say, okay, fine, tell us your story. And I had told, and he said, see, it's so crisp and clear, but he does not realize that the crisp and clear has come over a period of time, right?
Yeah.
I've not been this in the
It
last.
takes time to make it crisp and clear.
How do
Yeah.
I do that? Because I listen, I talk to people, and then I realize, and then I hear people talking about their startups, right? When I
Yeah,
went to
I
the
remember
US,
I did the course in Stanford. I mean, you can do it because you can do the evening programs. I did the program called Effective Communication
yes,
while I was in one of the corporate roles, and I think it's very useful. Like you
yes,
mentioned, right? Like the question that I also asked in terms of what is the rule, different tools and resources people use to. So, like you mentioned, the communication enablement. I also did that effective communication, and they teach. And there's a Stanford teacher. I mean, amazing experience, amazing, very crisp and clear training modules. It was one of the most changing, life changing program I must have had. And these little tools and resources just helps elevate and act as a catalyst to your next step. It doesn't take you too far out because you have to choose another program, another tool, network, but it is a huge catalyst to get to your next step. You're always in the corporate roles, or you're working with people. You need those tools. You need to learn, like you mentioned, new skill set. And I always thought I'm good at communicating, articulating stuff. I can speak really well, but there's always room to learn. You're in America, which is a melting pot, California. I mean, there is no single company that you can think, imagine to every stretch of imagination. It's not there. So you're competing with the best of the best. And I've had a very good career in working on all high tech companies, but then I always needed that. What more I can add to myself? I mean, of course, I mean, I'm coming from India. I mean, now it's a running joke that Silicon Valley, if you're not Indian, you can't be an SEO. You can't be a CEO.
absolutely, yeah, yeah.
All the
That's a
CEOs,
joke. That's a joke which is running around. I agree with you.
everybody,
For
you think
example,
that
I'll
the
tell you
company
what
and
I had.
CEO is an Indian.
No, I'll tell you what happened the other day. I was so I run this. So I have a BOT model, which is called the Build, Operate, Transfer model. So the product which I sell. So if you are a business that wants to set up a new business or a product or a process, I come in there. I come in with resources. I come in with technology. I come and set it up for you completely, right? Right,
Yeah,
people, training to everything, and execute, and I run it for you, okay, till maybe 6 months, 1 year, and then I hand it back to you when it becomes a BAU, and you take it over. So it's a BOT model, build, operate, transfer model, right?
got it.
So I was so the team that was there, and the service the service team that is part of the team that's working there. So the person who's going to take over this team has been making their life quite miserable for the last few days in terms of asking for data, because there was a strategy meeting. So she was asking for data. So day in and day out, they were they were crapping on numbers and etc etc, and they were like very frustrated. So I believe there's one of these girls in the who manages a service, or the service head, no, she speaks to this head of head, the person who's going to take over. She's saying, you know what, if Jaya was there, no, she would have given taken 5 slides from us, and then she would have stood in the room, convinced the person, even if the numbers and all this, she would have convinced the people in the room what she's speaking, and I walked out easily without having to without making us do what you are doing. And then she said,
Exactly.
but I'm not like that, I need numbers. But they said, no, but this is how Jaya does. Just ask for 5 slides. 5 slides starts with one, what is the problem you're solving? What are the challenges that you have? What is the approval you require? And that's it. That's her
That's about it. Yeah.
slide.
Yeah.
So she calls me and she says, you know what, the team is talking like this, Jaya. So I said, see, it doesn't happen overnight. I have done this over a period of time, right? So I know this, and I had an Australian boss in ING who told me, Jaya, don't give me 25 slides. I
Yes.
need 5 slides. First slide has to be your approval slide. Second slide has to be the challenger slide. Third has to be what is it? And that's it. That 5 slides are very clearly done. So that has stuck in my head. So
Yeah.
I actually ask only for 5 slides. So she says, but you know, the team has got so used to you, Jaya. I said, see, it's how you, so
It's
the,
their loss.
yeah, so the team says that,
They
no,
better respect women and they
we
better
would like to
treat
follow
them.
Jaya, because Jaya just asks only what is required, and you ask the whole world, and only so much is taken. So
True,
I said,
true.
you should give
It's
everybody the chance.
hard. It's harder to do five.
Yeah, it's harder to do because everything
It's
has to be
hard. You know, make what
right.
the most effective way that I have learned is make things simple. It is
Yes.
harder to make it simple. I mean, it is easier to create 100 slides and put all that stuff there, which is might be or might not be meaningful. It might
Yes.
be a good parent or umbrella kind of a deck, but keeping it a 9 slide rule, which we all know, it's a 9 slide rule, which pretty much
Yeah.
encapsulates the entire story if you really want to present to an executive or to a proposal or for a business proposal. A 9 slide rule is a standard rule which encapsulates the strategy and the execution if you really want to and if you really can, which we have been trained in the corporates as well. So I totally agree with you. I mean, that's very important. So shifting gears, I think we have had a great chat. It's almost over an hour. I learned so much about you, Jaya, and I'm so honored and happy and excited that we had this chat. It's been a back and forth lately. I mean, it's always a scheduling conflict. Things were just going haywire at my end, but now they are stabilizing, thankfully, knock on wood. So we have this last segment. We call it Fem Fire because it's a fem
Okay.
story. So it's not called a rapid fire. I mean, we used to call it rapid fire in the first few episodes, and we were like, I was like, why are we calling it rapid fire? Like a Bollywood thing. It's a fem story. Let's call it a fem fire. Let's let the female fire be felt.
Okay. That's a
But
nice one.
jokes apart, it's basically getting to know you personally.
Okay.
So I will just ask maybe a couple of 5, 6 questions in a very quick, kind of a bullet thing, and you just give me the answer that comes the first on your mind, and we are done. I think that is what we should do, and then we should wrap up. I think after that we can possibly wrap up. If you want to take a water break, we can do it. We've been
Okay.
okay, great, awesome. So we can get started. I'll just edit this section from here. Okay. So, welcome back, Jaya. This is our last segment of Fem Stories, and we have this Fem Fire round, which we call it's not a rapid fire, it's called Fem Fire because it's a Fem Stories. So, over to you. I'll just ask quickly 5 questions
Sorry.
in terms of what just to get to know you better and your other side of your personality. So, here you go.
Sorry.
Take your time. You okay?
So why suddenly there's a sneezing about us.
Bless you. So, I've been my throat has been bad, so I've been muting myself, taking the hot teas in the middle so that it
Yeah,
should.
yeah, that's good. Yeah.
All right, so over to you. Favorite restaurant in
I
Bangalore, right?
sorry.
You're in Bangalore, right?
No, I'm in Bombay.
In Bombay. It's
Yeah.
favorite hangout place in Bombay.
Uh, Actually, there's a place called Kerala Cafe over here in Chembur where I stay. I love the food of that place.
Nice, nice. Favorite. Oh, the book you're reading.
See, right now I'm reading the book which is called The Palace of Illusion by Chitra Subramaniam.
Nice.
But I just finished reading, and because you said Michelle Obama, I just finished reading Becoming.
Oh yeah.
It's, beautiful books of hers.
Yes. I
Uh,
read it back then when she published it.
yes,
Amazing. I love that couple. Obamas.
I love. I just keep following them all
Yeah,
throughout.
there is some likability and also very firm. Just living by the principles and living by the positivities, not just outside for that sake of it, but actually inside too. And if you read Becoming, if you've read Becoming, you know the background of Michelle coming from Chicago family, the
Yeah,
suburbs of Chicago, and what she's seen, and
yeah.
becoming a lawyer at Harvard, and then becoming a first lady. I mean, amazing journey, an amazing story, right? Another
It's,
fun story. I wish I'm manifesting Michelle Obama on Fem Story.
I'm sure
that
it will
is
happen for you.
that is another Fem story or a record of a Fem story. What a story that will be.
Uh, I think you should also read this book. I mean, there's a very interesting book which is called The Palace of Illusion by Chitra Subramaniam. It
Nice.
talks about how, I mean, it's while it, I started off with, while I started it off reading, but then I realized that I couldn't keep it down till I finished it because it talks about how you can see Mahabharata, okay, through
Yeah.
the eyes of Draupadi.
Hmm.
You've always seen Mahabharata from this side of the, you've only read Mahabharata from, knowing the stories, but this book talks about how you see Mahabharata through the eyes of Draupadi. It's a very, very interesting.
Very interesting. Very interesting. All right. Talking about the idols, who is your idol in life or the financial guru, based on whoever you think?
So Anjali, I have actually had many idols, and that has different reasons for it. The first idol that I had was my grandmom. My grandmom came from a very humble background. She was not very literate in terms of the way we talk about it, but her ability to view things,
Hmm.
her perspective on things, her knowledge on things, and her ability to see things and then take a decision has been phenomenal. Okay. And we as grandchildren, it's not because of a grandmom, but the way she came across, the the scripture she took us through, the teachings that she took us through of what she knew in terms of the Vedas has been a phenomenal impact on us. Okay. And everything had a story. With for a story it had a
Amazing.
uh, yeah, it had something to learn from it, which I don't think each of us, none of us really think through. But for
Yeah.
her, when she says a story, there has and it's never a no to anybody. That
Hmm.
is because, so if she's the last person to have food in the house, and if somebody walks in, she says no. I mean, she just gives it to that person because she says that that person has come at that point of time and he needs food. It means that person is more important than me.
Hmm.
So her way of looking at things is very
So her
different.
perspective is what you really liked, and it helped you move forward in your life somewhere.
Absolutely. Second is, of course, my mentor. I have a mentor from ICICI Bank, and he's still a mentor, and he's a mentor to the organization also. A very different personality. As in, um see, as a boss, he was a boss for me first, right? So then slowly, from a boss, he became, of course, through the boss period, he became a mentor.
Yeah.
I'll tell you some of the things that he taught, right? He says there is no need to thump your uh, thump the desk to get work done.
Yeah.
You can also get work done by talking peacefully and nicely and politely.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a rare phenomena of being polite nowadays, he says. Okay. So please, politeness is very critical in life. Okay. Second thing which he told me was that, the art of gifting.
Hmm.
It is not everybody's cup of tea. Even if he goes to meet anybody, he will make sure that he takes something. And
Very
that is
nice.
something that I imbibe. So gifting is it's because it is you go to meet somebody, you make sure that you carry something with you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at problems very, very with a different lens, right? There is a problem, right? You don't need to rush to a solution to it.
Hmm.
Understand that problem. Look at what is the logic of what can solve the problem rather than rushing into solutioning. There are a
Sure.
lot of things that I've learned from him, but I'm telling you some of the critical things that has helped me today. If I have become from a very aggressive uh, personality to someone who's able to run a business efficiently, bring in so much of business on my own in the system, and manage it. It's only because of that one person in my life as a mentor. That's
That's
been
amazing.
phenomenal impact on me. And not just about me, but on many other people also, because everybody, when they meet him, they immediately take to him saying that yes, this man can actually make a change in
Yeah.
people's
Looks
lives.
like it. Absolutely. All right, back to Fire. Your favorite vacation spot?
So I love to, go to Kerala. I belong to Kerala and I love to be there. So I think it's a
Anything outside Kerala? I mean, that's something which is your born in.
outside Kerala. This time when I see, so just to give you a little bit of a different, this is that every year I go for a 10-day break.
Nice. That's
Okay.
it?
I go for a 10-day break. Okay. So this time I just all and came back. So the Northeast is what I like a lot because there's so much to see
Sure.
there, and yeah, it's a very
Northeast.
different
Nice.
culture. Yeah,
That's
the
great.
Northeast is really good to see.
All right. Last question. Either, I mean, if I'll just give you a choice, just choose one. It's is it an international holiday, if if given to you, or just a book to read and relax in the house, in your own home?
I'll do a combination of both.
Choose one. Either a holiday international, or you choose to stay in the home for the week. Just
I'll go for an international holiday.
nice. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jaya. I think that was it. That's a wrap for Fem Story. I think I'm so thrilled that your Fem Story that we created today in 1.5 hours was amazing.
Oh, we've
So
done 1.5 hours. Oh my
yeah,
God,
I think we started around 1 8, yeah, 1 hour 20 minutes, whatever. But I think it was amazing to really
get to know.
reflect back. The overall conversation is very definitely very meaty, more contextual, and we got to know you. And I'm sure people out there will get to see. And I can, I can relate in terms of how you took the experience from corporate and created something of your own. Pretty much what I've done as well in terms of did my corporate and then I'm creating my passion project, my entrepreneurial projects. I have too many projects, too many babies to work on. So I can relate to your fem story. So it was really exciting. And I'm pretty sure we will be in touch in the future for any other projects or via business. Will be in touch. And thank you again for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Anjali. I think I love talking about what we did today. Uh,
Nice.
the more you talk about, if people find value and they're able to use it, I think it'll serve the purpose that you have uh, created the Fem story. And if anybody at any point of time wants to reach out for any help,
Sure.
happy to be available for the same also.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much on that note. And thank you so much again to our viewers to watch this episode and to watch the fam story of Jaya's. I would be back very soon with another trailblazer, another episode. Thank you again.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.